I heard of this issue through D'Angelo Wallace and watched a lot of other YouTubers talk about it as well, including the apology video itself, because I thought it was the best YouTuber apology I've ever seen, so it was very strange to me that people were criticizing it for reasons that would not even have come up if you watched the full apology. idubbbz apologized specifically for repetitively saying racist and offensive slurs that hurt the targeted group's feelings and also leading hate to the subjects of his videos, including the minority groups that were targeted by saying it was okay to bully and say slurs. And because he also apologized for harassing Tana Mongeau in person at her fan meetup and online, which resulted in her getting more hate and harassment than was necessary for an 18-year-old at the time, she responded by saying that maybe she deserved that because she was able to grow from it.
I'm not talking about anything in regards of the things he said, but I'm more so just talking about like his actions to me. Like, you know, him showing up to my show, him kind of putting me on blast, him inevitably making me kind of canceled and lose subscribers and have to apologize and all that type of stuff. I kind of think I like deserved that. It made me do so much necessary growth, and I think it also changed the entire trajectory of my career and life.
It's interesting how she, out of all people, chose not to speak on everything that he said, but solely his actions towards her. Although she didn't expect to hear an apology, she agrees that it was not right of him to put her on blast to 30 million viewers. However, it was necessary for her self-reflection, basically a necessary evil.
I just never expected that. People always ask me, if you could go back in time and like make that never happen, like, would you? And I always say no. It was a very dark time period of my life when it came to like self-reflection and trying to figure shit out. I think I would be a completely different person if I didn't have that. I was on track to just be so on my high horse and like egotistical and like nothing could go wrong, that something going wrong gave me such a dose of reality that this might not last forever. Like, you need to be held accountable for actions. I feel like it really shaped the course of my life. And so I guess because of how much I wouldn't go back in time and like change anything, I've never like felt like I like deserved an apology for that. In my head,
he still did something wrong. He was in the wrong and he like shouldn't have done it, but it's not to say something good couldn't have come of it, like out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I, honest to God, thought I was like just too small of a creator for him to like make a whole content cop on, because at the time those are getting like 40 million views, and I just never thought I was in that like caliber, you know what I mean? So then when it happened, it was like, oh shit. I was like 18, 19 at most, like when this happened. I don't want to dumb this one down to a scandal because it really was like intense. Like I feel like it's just so long ago that I've like really let everything die.
A third party should not have a say in whether or not this apology and response interaction should have occurred.
I don't think anyone deserves that level of cruelty or hate. Apologize to Tana.
Where, to be fair to idubbbz, I really hope and don't think, I'm still holding out that little hope, that idubbbz doesn't think that all the things he said in these videos were wrong and all the critiques and criticisms he made of people like Tana, Leafy, and Keemstar were wrong. But it seemed like the overarching point he was making in his apology video, that they were just too cruel and too mean, which I personally disagree with.
I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it. And, you know, obviously didn't have any accountability online whatsoever on my end.
Like, dude, you made drama videos that were entertainment that people thought were funny, and that's it. Like, that's the end of it. That's where it needs to stop. Like, if you felt like saying the N-word was too much, like, okay, whatever, you know, what it's a different year now. Like, maybe you got, you know, woken up. Content Cop as a whole is just internet flinging.
He was obviously not apologizing for Content Cop in its entirety. He clearly said in the past that he does not regret making those videos because there are still valuable parts to take away from them.
It was okay in criticizing her, but I think I probably wasn't the person to deliver the message. I don't regret making the video. I think, you know, there's bits and pieces to take from it that I think are valuable.
You don't need him to spell it out for you to know that he's referring to the valid criticisms he made in those same videos, which maybe is part of the reason why he is unlisting them rather than deleting them. And the reason why he regrets making those Content Cop videos now is because he feels like at the time he was making excuses and justifying harassment and the usage of slurs, which is the problem he has with those videos.
I'm also sorry to all the black viewers and minority groups who had to put up with that video and put up with, you know, the phrases. There was a message that I was trying to put out there, and like, I'm not really the person to put out that message. It just made me realize I'm stupid and I really need to like acknowledge these things. Like, what am I doing? I'm still trying to make excuses for myself and like, you know, why I made that video. It's like, it was a dumb idea. I harassed someone. I was saying slurs and I was trying to justify it all.
He didn't harass Tana for saying the N-word. He harassed her for being hypocritical because they both said the N-word, and he feels like he should not have been the person to call her out on that. It strays from the actual problem, which is the fact that he used it and did not address it, which led other people to think it was okay to use it as well. He said that harassing Tana in person was stupid and regrets it, probably because taking online beef to the real world, especially at her fan meetup, is stupid.
I harassed Tana in person and then harassed her online, and that's deplorable behavior. It's so stupid.
He doesn't specify which videos were so damaging, and it sounds like he's saying in videos.
The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos and videos,
But I'm pretty sure he's saying and videos.
content cop videos and videos where I was just generally criticizing people for very lackluster reasons.
So I don't think he's referring to his content cop videos on Tana, Ricegum, Leafy, and Keemstar, which a lot of people are referring to when they say he's overreacting, as the incredibly dangerous ones that he is apologizing for.
Leafy, Ricegum, Tana, and Keemstar.
People like Ricegum, people like Leafy, people like Tana, these people were bullies. And so I find it weird for him to claim that he made a lot of hateful, harmful content when it's like, end of the day, what did he even do? You didn't even hurt their career. You have nothing to really worry about. So I really don't see who the victim is here, right? It's not that serious. He made YouTube videos making fun of people on the internet who were making fun of others on the internet before that. So I don't really get it. I really don't get it.
He even said that he still does not like the majority of the people he made content cops on.
I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine, but I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment that I sent your way.
Which I believe is referring to the fact that he's clearly aware that they are not the best people, because why else would he still dislike them if they're decent human beings now? Why would he say he still doesn't like them if he thought the videos he made about them were so damaging to them? What good is the apology then? He's perfectly aware that they still have their careers intact. He apologized specifically for the hate he sent Hannah's way because it was a lot, but obviously it's not his fault that she got hate as a whole. She was going to get hate regardless. It just would have been a lot less. But he's not going to go off and criticize his past subjects in an apology video. He has also acknowledged that not all of his content was bad.
I have made content that I'm proud of over the years. You know, there is a lot of content that I think had a net positive on the world, and you know, I'm going to strive to continue on that trend.
There were some comedic moments in the apology too, like how he said he acquired empathy and describes it like it's a video game ability.
Only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy. I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32 I've acquired empathy. You know, my empathy meter's only maybe like a quarter of the way filled up potentially, but it's at least there. And I just want you guys to know that you can unlock ability empathy if you experience more life.
He was obviously serious about the message, but I couldn't really take the execution seriously because it was kind of funny.
People were saying he actually donated to a black transgender organization. Is that like what, like 7 people? Like, I'm so sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It kind of feels like overkill. Like I feel like the apology doesn't fit the crime. Like I don't think he needs to be acting like he's acting like he killed someone, like with a, you know what I mean, like drunk drove or something.
He's talking about this like he made videos abusing puppies or something. He's talking about it like he set off a bomb in the middle of a fucking church. You would think that he was like a war hero who killed a bunch of enemies of the US. He's talking about this like he created the alt-right. Like he created like a neo-Nazi cult.
Maybe I'm missing something because I didn't know who idubbbz was before watching D'Angelo's video about him, but I genuinely do not get why people think he's overreacting, and there's an overwhelming amount of people who think he is, but he's acknowledged his positives and he's acknowledged his negatives, and he apologized multiple times for his negatives because he experienced firsthand that the negative impacts were much bigger than him, bigger than something that he thinks he should be able to get away with after one apology.
I know that this apology isn't enough. I've clearly done a lot of damage. You know, these videos have been up for a long time and have accumulated millions of views. I shouldn't be able to just make an apology video and walk away from it. This is something that I should live the rest of my life with, and I expect to. I've profited off of this bigoted content for years, and I've made a successful career out of it. And that's not right, and it's hurting other people. It's done a lot of damage. We can just let it We can let it go.
By meeting the fans that he cultivated, he was able to look back on his content, which is the reason why he cultivated such a fan base.
I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I really do appreciate the support.
That was addressing the people over the years that I neglected and I left behind. You know, the people whose feelings I, didn't take into consideration. Anyone who thinks that I should be shouting the N-word from the rooftops, I don't want to be your cup of tea. This particular fan came up to me and said, I know you probably don't like transgender people, but can I, get a picture? I was like, oh, holy shit. Why would you think that? But I mean, it was fairly obvious. I was being cruel, hateful, bigoted, and being very uncaring about people's feelings.
And not every one of his fans have a negative impact on the world, obviously, but I imagine that a large portion of them were in fact racist, transphobic, homophobic, sexist, or whatever else to have such a big impact on him, and for him to change this much. You don't know fully what he's experienced, what kind of interactions he had, to what extent the damage spread for him to realize that he needed to be more open. I don't think a few interactions with real people would change someone this much. Maybe it also had to do with the fact that he was getting older, growing up, and maturing, which changed his comedic sense, his personality, and his thought process. So the combination of that with meeting a portion of his audience and realizing the existence of this type of audience brought about this over-explaining. And if you started dating someone and a large portion of your audience is sexist and hateful to that person, maybe you do need to look back on why that is the case. But there might be more to it too, because you don't know his experiences. So how can you invalidate his experiences and feelings by saying he's merely overreacting? However, I thought about it, and I think I know now why a lot of creators are saying his apology is overkill. 1. They're making his entire video about Tana.
This issue is becoming tiresome, so I want to make this as brief as possible. For context, 6 or 7 years ago, a content creator went up to another content creator at a public meetup and said a bad word that she had also used publicly. He has just recently apologized for his actions. This has stirred a lot of opinions online.
Even Tana knows that she was only one of the people he apologized to, and a small portion of the many things he said.
He posted this apology video apologizing for like a bunch of things he did in the past, one of them being the video he made with me, or like to me. In the video, he kind of talks about having like an awakening and like essentially an ego death. Those aren't his words, but like that's kind of what I took from that like he now can like feel so much more empathy towards things he was doing, and at the time he feels like he like didn't.
I believe in that. I mean, good for him if he's really just like on some sort of growth journey.
Absolutely, honestly.
I feel like it's right for him to apologize. I feel like you just did deserve an apology, whether you think you deserved the video or not.
2. It's the difference in perception of edgy humor.
Some of the videos I've made have been very, not edgy. I don't think they some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. So I don't want people to, get it confused about, where I stand. I have made some cruel, hurtful content, and I need to acknowledge that, and I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to acknowledge it.
How they define edgy humor is different from how others define it. Everyone I've watched who criticized his apology for over-exaggerating said that racist and offensive slurs were edgy humor, which were accepted during that time. Humor should have some kind of clever context. Racist jokes are not funny for the word itself, therefore the word itself is not humor. They're probably confusing the word accepted for abundant, prevalent, perhaps plentiful, or maybe they're confusing the word for the phrase, ignored everyone who thought otherwise and considered that as exception.
I think that he actually is showing more cowardly behavior by explaining himself, because realistically the fans that don't care that he changed, they don't need an explanation. They already get it. You know what I mean? They don't need you to come out and say like, this is why I don't say the N-word anymore. Like, they don't need that. The people who want that are people like me who don't like what he's turned into, don't like the current direction of his channel. And so I think for that reason, it's very silly to try to explain yourself.
It's just so funny that a white person is apologizing for saying the N-word, and another white person in response says, that's okay, you don't need to apologize to them. No one involved cares about what you think. According to this shallow perception of edgy humor, because he was not actually racist, despite saying the N-word, because saying the N-word does not make you racist in their mind, because it's edgy humor, it was all okay, and it's something that doesn't need an apology in the current age. Edgy humor needs the right context, just like with any humor. Telling the Cassante to stick to beating women in a league game is edgy humor, not because it's racist or sexist, but in this context the Riven was feeding him and he was killing her over and over again, but it wouldn't make sense or be funny outside this context. Blurting out racist or offensive words that target a minority group for no reason is not comedy. However, I'm also aware that saying a racist word does not necessarily make you racist, but I know that a lot of people don't get that, and I didn't get it either. I thought, how could you say the N-word, then turn around and say you're not racist? Until a friend told me that he hears the N-word all the time while playing COD. Sometimes he says that he needs to take a break from that game because he's tired of being called slurs, and I've heard this phrase so much that at this point it's comedic. These COD kids aren't calling my friend the N-word because of the racial significance. They don't know if he's black or not. They're probably trying to say the worst thing possible to someone that killed them, and they're using that word solely for the fact that it's forbidden and not considering the reason why it is so. However, it doesn't change the fact that saying the word says a lot about the kind of person that you are. A person that is knowingly saying a word that has hurt others in the past and still does today. A person that is okay with that. Although I understand how someone can claim that they are not racist for saying racist words, I don't agree with it. The N-word itself has a racist history. It existed as a neutral word before that history, but it was still later transformed as a derogatory word and was used to dehumanize a group of people in a time when enslaving and primarily African American lynching after emancipation was legal, and discrimination and segregation, although not to the same extent, still exists today. The word is still considered extremely derogatory because it is still used to be derogatory, so you can't just disregard all that context and tell everyone else to ignore it too, just because you feel like using the word as edgy humor, which can only be seen as an excuse for shallow thinking, when it doesn't cost you any inconvenience to refrain from saying it. This is why the word itself is not edgy humor. If idubbbz feels the need to apologize for saying slurs and unintentionally sending and intentionally allowing hate and harassment to others to do so as well, who are you as an outsider to debunk his apology? 3. Context is being left out. They're making it seem like he is saying that creators in general are responsible for the actions of their audience, when he was just acknowledging the fact that he himself is responsible for his audience in particular, because the way that he behaved in his past videos encouraged the same sort of behavior to his audience out in the real world by suggesting the normalization of racist words and other slurs.
This has stirred a lot of opinions online, with one of the more recent opinions coming from stans, saying that content creators are solely responsible for their audience, likening them to parents.
I was being very bigoted in a lot of my videos, and I justified it because, I didn't think it was too serious. And I thought that people were going to see that I had good intentions, but that's so silly, Casual racism is still racism. Casual bigotry is still bigotry. And, I said a lot of things that I look back at and I'm like, that is an awful thing to say. It doesn't matter what my intentions are. Like, if I'm hurting people, I'm hurting people. Who the fuck knows what my intentions are? Like, sarcasm and jokiness and jokey tone only goes so far, especially over the internet. It's also indoctrinated a lot of people into thinking that this is an okay way to behave, and it's not. It's super irresponsible and shitty. These are the people that I'm attracting. These are the people that I'm entertaining. I need to reevaluate things. They're relating and enjoying this content for a reason, and that's not maybe the same reason that I'm trying to make. I've just always had this dumb philosophy that I'm not responsible for, my audience and how they behave beyond what content I put out, and that's stupid. And it's led to a lot of hate and a lot of bad outcomes. And I just want to make it clear that I am absolutely responsible for my audience. That's the culture that I cultivated, and I, didn't do anything to change that.
Emphasis on beyond what content I put out. Content which included saying the N-word, F-slur, ripping the Quran, bullying, etc., and saying that this kind of behavior should be allowed. This is his personal apology, not a commentary video on himself, so it's incredibly stupid to be assuming that he means every creator should be responsible for whatever fucked up things their audience does, and you can stop viewing the apology as if you're some sort of content cop, because this apology shouldn't be considered content. 4. This one is the funniest. They straight up don't know what he's talking about.
People like me who don't like what he's turned into, don't like the current direction of his channel. Your content at this point has become talking about your old self.
I just don't understand why idubbbz owning up to his past, talking about it, and making an apology is considered to be content direction. He said he made a squirrel video on his second channel. That's content direction, okay? The squirrel video and the upcoming squirrel videos.
You know, I don't want to just have the next 5 videos be apologies. So I have uploaded a squirrel video on my second channel if you want to watch that.
Just the fact that he mentioned his squirrel video at the end of his very serious apology, and the fact that he went from apologizing from being racist and allowing racism among everything else to a squirrel video is so funny to me.
My opinions, tendencies, my beliefs have changed a lot, but I didn't ever like feel the need to, every time my content's about to change, make a huge video, sitting down, looking like I'm being held hostage by f***ing terrorists, explaining myself to people, because I don't feel like you owe anyone an explanation, you know?
You definitely have to be a certain kind of content creator to have the, what's a lesser form of audacity? Temerity? Let's go with that. You need some temerity to be able to insert yourself into the situation as if you matter. The reason he had to explain himself is because he noticed how a lot of his fans were. He noticed that his jokes were catering to and relatable to this kind of audience, and he does not want that to be his audience. He also met fans who thought he was racist or transphobic, and he obviously doesn't want his own supporters to misinterpret him, because if you're not racist, why would you want a bunch of racist followers? If someone wants to make an effort to make sure that he and his audience potentially reflect the same values, why are you criticizing him for making those efforts? Just because you don't believe that it's necessary for yourself doesn't mean that it's not necessary for everyone.
So I don't really get it. I really don't get it.
It's clear that a lot of these people don't know what he's apologizing for, so if you don't know that, then why are you making a response video saying your opinion on a topic that you don't even understand? You're not who his apology is directed to, so you not understanding it is understandable, but if you don't even understand why he's apologizing, your opinions provide nothing of value, so don't make a video on it.
This whole like explaining thing, like laboriously, like apologizing to everyone, like I don't know. It just feels fake. Not fake as in he doesn't mean it. It feels fake as in like it doesn't need to exist. It's like a facade.
He's not apologizing to everyone. He's certainly not apologizing to you.
He's like publicly cutting off part of himself. Like he's publicly self-harming almost to like make people think he's cool now. Like who does he want to impress with this? Hassan viewers, like Ethan's new like viewers, like who is this really made for? The people he wants to make it for are not the people who want to see it, you know? People who already agree with him, they don't want to see it. The people who are like excited to eat him alive over this are his old fans who hate this who are just gonna down his throat for this stuff, you know what I mean?
The fuck are you talking about? How are you going to decide that black people and other minority groups don't want to see an apology as a white person who wasn't a target and liked those videos? They probably didn't expect an apology, but they could still appreciate the fact that the impact of his actions on them was addressed.
Not a great video. I hope he stops making videos like that, because I'm honestly sick of these dumbass explanations. You don't need to explain yourself. Leave a little bit up to interpretation. It's okay. You can't over explain yourself like this. That fucking sucked, bro. Did he actually make a squirrel vid, by the way? Hopefully he stops making these videos. I'm sick of it.
I have nothing to say to that. This guy is so weird. I really struggled to watch this video. It's so long too. Did he just complain about an apology video not being entertaining? Wow, that is wild. He just said, I hope this guy stops apologizing. It's not entertaining content. I would like to point out that there were some entertaining moments.
I still don't like the majority of you.
The amount of misrepresentation that I've seen about his content has been insane. And this is the most recent case with D'Angelo Wallace's recent analysis video, talking about the whole idubbbz situation, as well as Moist Critical's video critiquing idubbbz's apology. And it's just so crazy to see people reduce idubbbz's old videos to just spamming slurs and saying slurs nonstop, when 95% of his content didn't include that at all and was just there for shock value and shock humor at the time. And sure, I'm completely fine with you critiquing that aspect of idubbbz's videos, but to try to paint his whole old content, his whole fucking discography, to just being an edgy guy spamming slurs, screaming the N-word from the rooftops is just crazy dishonest.
I don't know why, but this kid seems to think that everyone is out to get idubbbz, and they're misportraying him as this person who used to spam N-words and slurs all the time. No one is saying that most of idubbbz's content is N-words and slurs. That's just what he's known for outside of his fan base. Maybe we didn't watch the same videos, but that's not what I got out of D'Angelo Wallace's video or anyone else's video.
Content Cop episodes were almost exclusively made on bad actors on the platform, people who actually did need to be called out. Ian was giving the people what they wanted and making plenty of good points as well.
The point was that although idubbbz had valid criticisms, he sort of failed in the execution of it because of the words he should not have said.
Even though I have 1,000 videos on the internet of me saying I'm gonna cry over this video.
That was the third one, by the way. So this mismatch of valid criticism with a complete lack of regard for delivery resulted in decent digs like this.
He has no filter, he'll just do it. And this has resulted in countless examples of him saying really regrettable shit.
And the reason why D'Angelo has this stance is because he thinks that saying the N-word as a white person is being racist.
I don't need to know your innermost feelings to know that it's racist to use racial slurs all the time. I don't care what's in here.
And that bullying is not okay.
I think this will be the first time I actually say it unironically and mean it. Kill yourself.
Which led to him not having the full context for some of his points. But it's just so funny that your defense for idubbbz is the fact that he does in fact support bullying.
I'm perfectly fine with bullying. Make fun of someone because they're fat, autistic, or riddled with acne, I don't care. Make fun of them. I think my only stipulation with the bullying is that you also have to not be a pussy.
Once again, this video is rightfully criticizing Leafy for his actions, specifically the way he used his giant platform to bully random children on the internet. But once again, the way Ian went about it was just extremely counterproductive.
idubbbz was never making the point that you shouldn't bully someone else for their physical appearance. idubbbz literally said that in the clip that you played in your own video.
I'm perfectly fine with bullying.
Your takeaway from the video is completely wrong and missed the point. He was trying to demonstrate to the audience that Leafy, even though he went out and bullied other people and made fun of them, he himself was also just as insecure as the people that he was making fun of. So idubbbz spent the video bullying the bully, so to speak, to try to prove a point.
And then there's this clip.
Hi, my name's Ian, and I'm a fat. I kinda said it like I was autistic, like I had Tourette's.
That is obviously racist, right? In fact, Ian strung those two words together that they pretty much just became his catchphrase that he would repeat in multiple videos over and over and over.
And this is another blatant lie and misrepresentation that's the biggest self-report that D'Angelo didn't do his research and wasn't a fan of idubbbz back in the day. idubbbz didn't just take the most two offensive words in the human language, debatably, and just combine those together to make his own personal catchphrase.
Are you not going to defend him? Was he not making fun of people with disabilities? Are you not going to provide any context for that? Or did you just give up because one of your defenses was the fact that he does support bullying? You can like content, but also recognize that it had negative impacts, just like what idubbbz said in his apology.
You know, you can like content, but you can also think that it's irresponsible and it's hurting other people.
He thought that people would recognize that he had good intentions and he wasn't being serious, but it still fostered a community with intentions that differed from his own because of some of the content he put out.
No, he was called those words by someone else in one of his past videos. So, as a joke, he reclaimed those words, so to speak, and after being called an N-word F-slur after someone else, he just started to own it and say, fuck it, you know what? I am an N-word F-slur. And you all guys in my audience, you are all fellow N-word F-slurs. And that's what ended up making the meme of people sending in fan mail saying, "Dear N-word F-slur," and ended up being what people label his catchphrase.
It's not every day that idubbbz and his Kickstarter crap and his Indiegogo extra minutes is pushing it way too far for the moment, and it's pissing me off for the last draw. I'm sick and tired of that motherfucking faggot.
But this wasn't just idubbbz himself just taking these two words and putting them together. And you know what? At the end of the day, morally speaking, you can think what you want about that. If you think that's a little bit racist for him to continuously say it and meme it around in his video, you know what? At the end of the day, that's fine. And I'm not gonna argue that.
Yes, there is context to the things he said, at least the ones you pointed out, but people who did not watch the original video where the context occurred is not going to know that context. The people who have only watched him from after that context point is going to think that he might not be joking at all, and it will attract people who are genuinely questionable human beings. And if he wants to explain himself because he's frustrated about that, you can't say that it's not necessary for him to do so.
I don't feel like you owe anyone explanation, you know? I just don't. By doing this, like, he implicitly, like, does, you know, imply that he owes people an explanation, that he owes people some kind of, even people who hate him.
The white people saying it was okay for Charlie, a white man, to say that it was okay for idubbbz, a white man, to say the N-word because of intent is crazy. That's not up for you to decide, and if you have a problem with that, you can blame your ancestors.
I just want to thank everyone who's given me the space and the compassion to grow as a person, because it's taken longer than it probably should have.